Welcome back, Tiger Tamers. I am Lupine Fiasco, and this is Daily FaB Gameplay. For anyone who's new to the channel, welcome to a state of zen. What we do here is review replays of games that I have played on the Talishar client days or weeks ago after enough time has passed that I lose my bias and can more objectively judge the quality of my play. I'll talk through turn cycles and give my thoughts on the line I would take now compared to the line I took then at the time of recording. We either learn from my mistakes or reinforce good play patterns with the overall goal of tightening and optimizing our gameplay in the future to take down paper events like the upcoming ProQuest season and, most importantly, walk away with that shiny cardboard. If you would like to check out the list I'm playing here or try it for yourself on Talishar, there is a FaB deck link in the video description below. While you're down there, if you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It is the best free way to support me and to make sure that you see daily FaB gameplay in your video feed 5 days a week. The best paid way to support me is through Patreon, and a Patreon link is also in the video description. A Patreon subscription will get you access to the DFG Discord and the shiny cardboard Talishar card back. At higher tiers, your name will appear in every DFG video, you'll get bonus DFG content every week, and there are even more benefits to come. Daily FaB gameplay will always be free 5 days a week, so for those who can afford to patronize me, I truly appreciate it. And if you just want memes and rambling, follow me on X. Now, without further ado, let's talk about our sideboard and about our game plan. It is July 8th. Today is the release of the banned and suspended announcement. This video was recorded prior to that announcement, so if there are any cards in this list that are banned or suspended, please forgive me for playing them. I certainly hope this deck contains some banned and suspended cards. Zen is overtuned, and he needs to be adjusted. Although, some people would certainly say that the existence of new, today's opponent, means that Zen is perfectly manageable. And I won't tell you that this is a fun or easy matchup. New has a lot that she can do to disrupt us, and if she is successfully keeping Zen off of a 5 or even 4 card hand, then Zen can sometimes find himself in a position with no real way to pressure New and no way to stop the disruption from happening. So, having lost the die roll, we will be going first against Assassin. We would love to go second to just block on turn 1. We will be running Kikara into this matchup. It's going to be a long one. Talishar will certainly break before we even get halfway through the game. Kikara lets us present constant weapon damage over the course of a very long and drawn-out match. This list is not running snags, and I have since updated it to run snags. Snag is pretty hit or miss as far as whether it does anything to prevent disruption on any particular turn. Against Persuasive Prognosis and Bonds of Agony, Snag is very good. We get to block those attacks with a piece of armor or a card from hand, and then Snag when New reacts over the top of our defense. The problem with Snag is that it still requires us to block in order to prevent any sort of disruptive effect. Bonds is still online if it hits and 3 reactions have been played, even if it does not have any additional power. Persuasive Prognosis is still online if it hits and doesn't have additional power. If New plays Surgical Extraction, Leave No Witnesses, Command and Conquer, Siren's Call, Snag doesn't affect any of that. So you can absolutely find yourself in a position where Snag does not get you out of the situation you're in, but at the bare minimum, it pitches for 3, and that makes it a lot better in this matchup than something like a Sink Below. There are absolutely sideboarding mistakes in this deck. I am playing Blanche. Harmony of the Hunt Red is still in this list. I have since cut it. I am presenting 60 cards against New whenever I play against the hero now, because Fatigue New is a lot less common than just the sort of all-around performer of mid-range New. Mid-range New is not actively trying to fatigue us. We do not need more than 60 cards. The most important thing to do against New is cut out Levels of Enlightenment. And in doing so, we're boarding in Snag. That gives us our 60 cards and that we're more likely to draw into our power. But Levels of Enlightenment, despite being one of the best cards in our deck, does need to be cut, because if New banishes it either with her hero power or because we blocked, then she gets to play our levels against us. And if New is playing our levels, then she has a really strong turn cooked up. She can pitch a blue for dagger, pitch a blue for dagger, then pitch chi in order to play our levels, and now levels is 1 for 5, go again, draw a card. So levels does need to come out. It's a mistake that everyone makes once, and I am here to save you from that loss. Cut your levels against New. Outside of all of New's disruption, there isn't anything particularly threatening that she does. Disruption is the name of her game. There is no real combo that she's building to. She isn't working towards pitching a chi and attacking us with all of our blues. She is just chipping away, whittling away our hand and our life total until she puts us into a position where we need to start blocking daggers, or where she can just double just a nick over the top of our blocks and kill us. So this will be a long, drawn-out game. There are going to be a lot of opportunities for us to find value, and we are going to try and do that together. Going first, we are in a weird position where our hand doesn't really do anything, but we do get to transcend. And because we are transcending, we put a chi into our deck, and we get to fill our graveyard with some combo cards. We can also start by looking over at New's side of the field. Everything looks normal. She is running Mask of Recurring Nightmare. She's also running Scale Peeler, which will be very effective against Zen. It turns our 7-block fridge into a 3-block fridge, and New already knows that we don't want to block from hand, so hitting our armor is much more effective. We'll talk about ways where we could maybe get around that Scale Peeler effect later in the game. But for now, considering that we want to transcend on turn 0 if we can, and we want to put combo cards into our graveyard, what I propose we do is play Descendant Gustwave by pitching Bonds of Ancestry, stir the pot to transcend, we make a resource, we pitch our chi into Zen, and we can either find Tiger Swipe or Chase the Tail. We will have 3 resources to play Chase and Kakara if we want to. So we follow Descendant with Kakara, we follow Kakara with Tiger for 2, and then we either play Tiger Swipe for 4 or Chase the Tail for 4. I prefer having Chase the Tail in my graveyard early. I think our Chase combos are much stronger than any sort of Tiger Swipe play we can make. So I like Descendant, Transcend, Kakara, Tiger, Chase, pass, and we just arsenal 100 wins. We are pushing decent damage. If we make this play, we're probably not getting any damage over on New, but we are transcending turn 0, and that is the most important thing we can do, is turn on our Traverse. So far, yep, everything looks good. Taking the line I saw, we will Crouching Tiger for 2, expecting to get 3 cards away from New at this point. She can put a 3-block in front of Chase and then 2 3-blocks, or a 3-block in front of Tiger and then 2 3-blocks in front of Chase. Instead, she Fate Foresees the Chase after taking 2 from the Tiger, so I'm suspecting that she has a Transcend instant in hand, at least 1 if not 2. The hand that we draw into is not particularly relevant. We cannot transcend with this hand. So we certainly aren't going to block Scale Peeler. We can wait for the follow-up to see how else we should proceed. New playing Siren's Call. Siren's Call does not work like Pulse Wave Harpoon. If we show a blue that does not have block value, New does get to make us block with it. So if we allow this Siren's Call to resolve, New takes our grain that tips the scale, draws a card, and then gets to proceed with her turn. And so I would rather play grain that tips the scale, targeting Scale Peeler. We take an extra point of damage, which is unfortunate, but we prevent New from drawing a card. And I think the 1 point that we give her by playing grain is worth more to us than the hypothetical 3 that we give her by letting her draw a card. So we'll take the Scale Peeler, and we even get a little bonus by New just ending the turn, not even pitching 2 reds into a Mistveil. So really good value by playing grain that tips the scale. The line here is pretty simple. Unfortunately, without a blue to pay for the Art of War, we don't have a good way to get value out of it. Rather than kind of bend over backwards to play Descendant, play 100 Winds Arsenal Art of War, or just pitch a Descendant into it, banish 100 Winds and hope for the best, we're going to say this is a long game. We are going to shuffle a lot. I'm going to pitch Art of War into Kakara and then play 2 100 Winds. We'll Arsenal Descendant Gustwave. Descendant, absolutely not the worst card to have in our arsenal. It does not allow for easy transcending, but we do have now multiple copies of 100 Winds. In our graveyard, we have a Chase the Tail as well. So if we can set up a just natural bonds combo, then we will get value out of that. The hand we draw into is, again, okay, not great. We cannot easily transcend with this hand. Surgical now threatening our Homage or our Shifting Winds. As far as whether we want to block, we could block with equipment if we wanted to. The fact that New did not dagger ahead of this surgical extraction makes me think that she is holding reds in hand. If she's holding reds, there's a decent chance that they are Venomous Bite or Hiss, in which case we would have to block a lot to make sure the surgical doesn't hit us. We could also be looking at a Transcend instant. If New plays a Path Well Traveled or a Passover, transcends, pitches the Chi into Mask of Recurring Nightmares, we lose 2 cards. If we lose 2 cards, then if we lose 3 cards from blocking, banishing, and then banishing to surgical, our hand is in real trouble. So I would rather just not block this, lose 2 cards, and then try and put a turn together. As it is, if there is no follow-up to this surgical and we get to keep 3 cards in hand on an arsenal, then we're in kind of an okay position. Though, of course, not meant to be. New does have the ability to transcend. And we will need to banish a card to Recurring Nightmares. Very likely going to be Shifting Winds. At that point, we either get to keep a blue and a Tiger Swipe, and then our turn is Kakara, Descendant, Tiger Swipe, pass, or New takes our blue with Surgical to make a silver, and we get to E-Strike for 7. So Shifting Winds does seem like the least valuable card in our hand, either on offense or defense, and I don't mind losing it here. Now New has a choice of either letting us E-Strike or getting a silver. Losing red bonds off the top to Surgical feels absolutely terrible. What a horrible situation for us to be in. We will just... I like Kakara, Descendant, Tiger Swipe. Just pushing some damage using our resources. We already have a Descendant in discard, so putting a second one there doesn't necessarily help us. I apparently agree and decide to keep the Descendant in Arsenal. That does make us resilient to Codex of Frailty, which is a nice little bonus, but certainly not a high value turn. And we draw into, again, does not transcend. If we did block the Scale Peeler with a Traverse in order to get a Chi, then our hand does look a little better. We get to pitch Ancestral into Descendant Gustwave, pitch the Chi into Zen to find Bonds. Bonds finds Chase the Tail. We have our Aspect of Tiger. But I don't want to start with a bunch of blocking because New still has 4 cards. I would like to leave New with a smaller hand before I think about getting a Chi. If nothing else, we need to play around Siren's Call taking our Chi. Here we have a misplay from New showing us a Command & Conquer an Arsenal. We will absolutely keep that information in mind. So we know that the Surgical is coming in for 5 total. If New has a blue in hand, even a red, but if New had a blue in hand, she could pitch into Arousing Wave to give the Surgical an extra point of power, bring it up to 5. With what we have in hand, if we lose a single card here, very likely our Ancestral Harmony, our hand is still playable. We can pitch Blanche to play Spinning Wheel Kick and then follow that with Aspect of Tiger. But if we lose 2 cards, potentially from another Transcend instant, pitching to Mask of Recurring Nightmares, and then the Surgical effect hits, we're really going to want 2 cards in hand. I say still, let's not block. Blocking 5 here, holding on to Blanche and Harmony does seem like a mistake. I would have rather just played around the Transcend instant, which we can still banish our Blanche, and we are still covered against this Surgical Extraction, but now our hand is either a 1-card 2 or a 1-card 5 if we wanted to play out that Descendant Gustwave. Playing Ancestral Harmony here, 100% incorrect. So glad that we are at least pitching it. Hoping that we hit 100 wins or an Aspect of Tiger off the top of the deck is not how we win this game. Playing out the Descendant here, I don't particularly see any reason for it. If we didn't do it last turn, I don't see why we would want to do it this turn. Same situation as last turn, where we could block with Traverse, get a Chi, pitch the Chi into Zen to find Descendant Gustwave and have a pretty good setup, but we are still weak to Siren's Call, Surgical Extraction, Codex of Frailty. I think we take the damage from Scale Peeler and we just continue to wait. If we get to play out this 4-card hand, it's pretty okay. It's a 3-card 8 and we Arsenal Bonds. If we wanted to block the Mistblade, we certainly could. We could give armor, it would reset Scale Peeler, so now if we block with Traverse and get our Chi, the rest of our armor blocks for 5, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe that is when we want to cash in our armor. We could block the Mistblade with Stride, get a Tiger, be a little resilient to Siren's Call. But I don't know that this is when we want to cash in Traverse. Got a Bonds of Agony attacking for 1. New has 2 floating resources, so we do need to be aware that she can Arousing Wave, play the Fang Strike, she can Undertow Stiletto. That gets her to 3 reactions to turn on Bonds. I am going to block this with my Bonds of Ancestry. We don't know what this last card in New's hand is. If it's a Hiss or a Venomous Bite, then even blocking 4 with Bonds and Traverse, we'd have to block 5 to get around Bonds itself. We'd have to block too much to stop out the Bonds, even if it only gets +4. Blocking with Bonds of Ancestry still gives us a 2-card 7 with an Arsenal, and not having a Bonds in hand makes us resilient to the Bonds of Agony effect. So I think this is a fine block. Blocking with Chase the Tail as well seems like a mistake. I don't know why I thought that was the play. Here we have Surgical Extraction. I believe the correct play is to just give it Go Again, rather than letting... Well, if we let New take our path well traveled, then it gives us an Arsenal. Just a bad situation to be in. I think blocking with the Chase the Tail there was a mistake. We draw into a pretty medium hand. It does have the ability to transcend. E-Strike coming in for 5 with Go Again is just damage we can take. This is vanilla damage. We don't need to block that. Scale Peeler coming in for 1 lets us know that New very likely intending to pitch this last card to attack with CNC, or play something like a Leave No Witnesses, or it could be a Siren's Call. It could be so many things. If we block the Scale Peeler with Traverse, we get our Chi. Not that this hand really does anything if we have Chi. I think we just take the Scale Peeler damage and maybe look at blocking with Warmonger's Diplomacy and Harmony of the Hunt to cover up whatever the follow-up to Scale Peeler is. Leave No Witnesses coming for 4 with a floating resource. This is really 5, playing around a Rousing Wave. We can block this with Warmongers and Harmony of the Hunt. That lets us transcend on our turn with 100 Winds and Rising Sun Setting Moon. That gives us a resource. And we can pitch the Chi into Zen to... potentially, we could find Tiger Swipe. Crouching Tiger for 1, getting that Shuko value, Tiger Swipe for 4, then using our floating resource to play Spinning Wheel Kick from Arsenal. Hopefully putting enough pressure on New that she has to start blocking, and if she starts blocking, then we can look at using our equipment to get a Tiger and a Chi once we are relatively certain that she cannot take either of those from us. Not sure what this prompt is. I don't want to show New what I just drew. At this point we Zen. We can grab one of our Tiger Swipes. Yep, and send 1 for 4. Unfortunately, any Crouching Tiger that we make from Tiger Swipe won't do anything. Play it from Banish anyway, who cares? And then Spinning Wheel Kick from Arsenal seems like a solid line here. New giving us Amnesia, going down to 2 cards in hand and a Command and Conquer in Arsenal. The hand that we draw into is very solid. At this point, I like blocking the Scale Peeler with a Traverse. If New has Siren's Call in hand, that's unfortunate for us. We lose our Chi. But if she doesn't, then our hand is pretty good. We know that it's a Command and Conquer and Arsenal that does nothing to us. We could try to cover the Scale Peeler with a Shuko if we wanted to play around Siren's Call, but I think we go for the Traverse here. Traverse covers Scale Peeler, gives us our Chi, it leaves the rest of our armor available to block a surgical, blanking on what it could be. Maybe something like a center. Any kind of disruption, we have armor available because we've covered the Scale Peeler damage. So I think we block with Traverse here. We get our Chi, and then we look to Transcend, Art of War, etc. We're in a good spot. But I think not blocking at all is a mistake. We're looking at Codex of Frailty, Tunic into Command and Conquer, but our armor doesn't really block anymore. Traverse, Kasaya, Shuko all block for 3. That with our Command and Conquer covers up the CNC, but we've lost a card to Codex already. So we can think about what we want to do. We could get back a nothing card and discard Drop in the Ocean or Ancestral Harmony. On our turn, we CNC for 6, Arsenal, Art of War, and hope for the best. We could block with our Stride and our Traverse to just get cards. At this point, we've committed to not protecting our Arsenal. Discarding Drop does seem like a mistake because we are not going to protect our Arsenal, so I would rather keep a Transcend instant in my deck. If we did get Chi and Tiger, then we are looking at playing an Art of War, pitching Ancestral Harmony to play Art of War, and then having Chi to compensate for whatever we might need. But at this point, I feel like not blocking the Scale Peeler with Traverse was already a mistake. Here we are just looking to send CNC for 6, Arsenal, Art of War. We're just hoping for another turn where the stars are going to align. New goes down to 3 cards, and we can look to block the dagger with Traverse. This is a slightly weaker hand, but we just need to start going for it. This is the biggest mistake I'm seeing in this gameplay, is that we just aren't blocking the Scale Peeler. We need to... It sucks having to block a Scale Peeler with Traverse, but we need to do it because we need to turn our armor into something that blocks Leave No Witnesses. We need to use our armor to stop the disruption so that we can fire off a 6 or 7 card hand, and I'm just not doing it. So at this point, we have Leave No Witnesses attacking for 4. It is at least 5 if New uses the Floating Resource for a Rousing Wave. We want to protect our Art of War. We want to have cards to play with it. So if we block with Traverse... if we give Traverse, Kasaya, Shifting Winds, that covers 5. And we could even give Stride to get a Tiger so that we can play the Art of War. We can't just give up our Art of War. So here we are blocking 5. We're getting really bad value on our armor. And New just happens to have a Venomous Bite. So here we are going to play Defensive Art of War just to get some value out of it. Banish our Tiger, we keep Chi so that we can find whatever we might need. The cards that we draw are absolutely terrible. This is really the turn that makes me say, you know what, Blanche cannot be in this list. Blanche is just really bad. We'll fire off a Harmony. Drawing into Bonds here is insanely good value for us. We can pitch Chi into Zen. Zen finds Descendant Gust Wave. With Harmony, we can pitch to play Descendant, float 2, attack with Bonds. Bonds finds 100 wins, send 100 wins, or Tiger Swipe, send Tiger Swipe, CNC. We know that New's arsenal is just Fang Strike, but at least hitting the arsenal is better than nothing. A lot better than, say, pitching CNC to play Blanche. Here we do get to arsenal a Blanche. See how much more value we can get out of this turn. I believe we have one Tiger Swipe left in our deck. We have 2 in our discard, and I do not believe... Yeah, we have not banished one already. So we either grab Red 100 Wins or Tiger Swipe. And I believe Tiger Swipe is the better call because 100 Wins is just a little more flexible. Unfortunately, we lost our Shuko, so this Tiger only attacks for 0 instead of 1. And we get to finish up with Command and Conquer. New choosing not to defend the Fang Strike puts her down to 7, and we get to arsenal a Blanche. Not the best card in Arsenal, but it'll do. Here we have a Mistblade coming in for 1. With us having very little armor left, Mistblade becomes the better card to better attack to attack with. Just looking at what a potential Codex could grab, and seeing that New does not have any surgical extraction, so Mistblade may be looking at a Persuasive Prognosis or a Bonds of Agony. Prognosis attacking for 3, New having the floating resource to pay for a Rousing Wave. We could cover this with Ancestral Harmony, which seems like the best thing for us to do. Our other option would be to just not block and lose a card anyway, but I think our hand is pretty resilient to a Hiss or a Venomous Bite. I really like blocking with Harmony here. Blocking with nothing seems wrong. We lose a Descendant Gust Wave off the top and a Harmony from our hand, and then we get hit with Codex. Codex finds Leave No Witnesses. Leave No Witnesses, effectively attacking for 5 because of a Rousing Wave. And we have to overblock for 6 so that we can play this Blanche. Really, really bad value overall. We would have had to make a similar bad block had we covered the Prognosis for 3, but we at least would have 2 more life to play with. Here we've got a Mistblade coming for 1. We're not going to block this. Currently, our hand does Transcend if with great difficulty. Art of Desire Mind is going to go unblocked. We just need to hope that New misses, which she does, hitting an E-Strike off the top. But she does have the Tunic to Amnesia, so if we block this with Chase the Tail, we survive at 2. Unfortunately, our Harmony of the Hunt won't really combo with anything. I feel like blocking this for 3, going to 2, and then sending Kikara 100 wins is still our best line. At the very least, we get to arsenal this Homage and can maybe defend, transcend defensively. But overall, absolutely terrible position for us to be in. We will Kikara Harmony of the Hunt, 100 wins Arsenal a Tiger, but having just a lone Tiger in Arsenal feels really bad. Of course, we're amnesiaed, so the Tiger does not have power. New can just take this down to 3 and then kill us with 4 cards. Our hand maybe kind of blocks well, but we do want to hold on to a blue to attack with Blanche. And generally seems like we will not be able to get there. Here we have a Bonds for 1. New having resources available to turn this into 5. Yes, we could block it and survive, but why? So we will just let the attack hit and start thinking about why we lost. The biggest answer being that we did not block with armor effectively. I was very afraid of Scale Peeler, just thinking, well, I want to save the armor, but the problem is, if Scale Peeler hits, our armor blocks for 3. If we block Scale Peeler with armor, we're doing so ineffectively. The armor is getting a bad value, but at least if we block with Traverse, the rest of our armor blocks for 5. And that really would have given us much bigger turns than what we got out of our armor. Our Traverse Stride block turned it into a defensive Art of War instead of an offensive Transcend, and that really cost us the game. We had some bad cards in our deck. Blanche should not be here. We should not be playing 66 cards. New certainly had infinite good turns. She never had a turn where she wasn't disrupting us, and that is unfortunate. New's deck is built to do that, but she can have off draws, and she never found one. So that was bad for us, but ultimately what cost us this game was really bad armor blocking. I'm sure a number of other things cost us this game, but what I saw was really bad use of armor, and that's something I got to work on in the future. So I hope you enjoyed this game. I hope you learned something. If so, be sure to head jab that like button. My comments are always open for questions or feedback. If you saw a better line for me to take, please let me know. I read those comments, I internalize them, and take them with me into future games. If you haven't already done so, please consider a YouTube subscription. It's free, it helps me out. I have a Patreon and a Twitter. Links to those accounts are in the video description below. And until the next time I see you for more daily FaB gameplay, take care.